Gaura Chandra Bole Jago 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 Gaura Chandra Bole Jago Jago Kota Nidra Jayo Maya Isasira Kole Kota Nidra Jayo Maya Kota Nidra Jayo Maya Isasira Kole Kota Nidra Bhajibo Balia Este Samsara Bhikare Bhajibo Balia Este Bhajibo Balia Este Samsara Bhikare Bhajibo Balia Este Samsara Balia Rahile Tumhe Avidyara Bore Balia Rahile Tumhe Balia Rahile Tumhe Avidyara Bore Balia Rahile Tumhe Amare loite ame hainu avatara Amare loite Amare loite ame hainu avatara Amare loite amen Ame bina bandhuhara ke ase to mara Ame bina bandhuhara Ame bina bandhuhara ke ase to mara Ame bina bandhuhara Enese osade maya nasibado lagi Enese osade maya nasibado lagi Osade Maya Hare Nama Mahamantra Now to me Magi Harinam mantra lautunne Harinam mantra lautunne mage Harinam mantra lautunne mage Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Bolo. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Bhakti-vinoda Prabhu, Karane Koriya, Bhakti-vinoda Prabhu, Karane Koriya, Bhakti-vinoda Prabhu, Karane Koriya, Bhakti-vinoda Prabhu. Say Harinama mantra, Loilo Magiya. Say Harinama mantra. Say Harinama mantra, Loilo Magiya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Bolo, 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 bolo. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai. Jaya Gaura Nitai, 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 Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Radha Madhava Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Normally we don't chant the Jeev Jago. But anyways, today is not a special day, but it is good to remind ourselves. Okay. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagachadya Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Kiraboy Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Charya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Giant Thakur Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurandalitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swatadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Sya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamame Hari Priye Panchakalpa tarubhyasya kripa sindhu vyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sridham Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati tamasloke bhaktir bhavisinaistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed, practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamhitam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhamyam Swasthaya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vasanam pangom langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatarunam yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatarunam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. Today we continue reading from the second canto, chapter 4, entitled The Process of Creation. And today we have 2 verses in one. Quite a long purport also. Text number 3 and 4. Tapracha Chemam evartham yan mam krishyata tatamaha krishnanubhava sravane pradadhano maha manaha tamstam vijnana vigyaya sanyasya karma trai vargikam cha yat vasudeve bhagavati atma bhavam Sridham gataha aprascha chemam evartham yan mamma prishtata sattamaha krishnanubhava sravane Radhadhano mahamana tamstam vigyaya sanyasya karmatrai vargikam chayat vasudeve bhagavati atma bhavam ridham gataha aprascha chemam evartham yan mamma prishtata sattamaha krishnanubhava sravane radhadhano mahamanaha samstham vijnaya sanyasya karmatrai vargikam chayat vasudeve bhagavati atma bhavam adridham gata paprascha chemam evartam yan mam prishtata sattamaha krishnanubhava sravane Sadhano mahamanaha tamstam vignaya sanyasya karmatrai vargikam sayat vasudeve bhagavati atma bhavam dridham gataha prapacham chemamevartam yannam prishyanta sattamaha krishnanubhava sravane Shraddhano mahamanaha tamstam vignaya sanyasya karmatrai vargikam chayat vasudeve bhagavati atma bhavam dridham gataha prapascham chemamevartham yanmam prichyata sattamaha krishnanubhava sravane shraddhano mahamanaha tamstam vignaya samyasya karmatrai varikam chayat vasudeve bhagavati atma bhavam dridham gataha aprascha asked, cha, also, imam, this, eva, exactly like, artham, purpose, yat, that, mam, unto me, vishtata, you are asking, tatamaha, tatamaha, O great sages, Krishna Anubhava, wrapped in thought of Krishna. Sravane, in hearing, Tadadhanaha, full of faith. Mahamanaha, the great soul. Samsam, death. Vignaya, being informed. Sanyasya, renouncing. Karma, fruit of activities. Traivargikam, the three principles, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. Also, yat, what it may be, Vasudeve, unto Lord Krishna, Bhagavati, the personality of Godhead, Atmabhavam, attraction of love, Dridham, firmly fixed, Gataha, achieved. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. O great sages, the great soul, Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you were asking me. Kindly repeat after me. O great sages. Vibol, kindly repeat after me. O great sages. The great soul Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. Report. The three activities of religion, economic development, and sense gratification are generally attractive for conditioned souls struggling for existence in the material world. Dharma, artha, kama. Such regulated activities prescribed in the Vedas are called the karmakandya conception of life, and householders are generally recommended to follow the rules just to enjoy material prosperity both in this life and in the next. Most people are attracted by such activities. Even in the activities of their modern godless civilization, people are more concerned with economic development and sense gratification without any religious sentiments. As a great emperor of the world, Maharaj Parikshit had to observe such regulations of the Vedic Karma Kandiya section, but by his slight association with Shukadeva Goswami, he could perfectly understand that Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, from whom he had a natural love since his birth, is everything. And thus he fixed his mind firmly. And thus he fixed his mind firmly upon him, renouncing all modes of Vedic karma kandiya activities. This perfectional stage is attained by a jnani after many, many births. The jnanis, or the empiric philosophers endeavoring for liberation, are thousands of times better than fruitive workers, and out of hundreds of thousands of such jnanis, one is liberated factually. And out of hundreds of thousands of such liberated persons, even one person is rarely found who can firmly fix his mind unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, as declared by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. There's one verse that is describing what Prabhupada is referring to here. You know that verse? Armi Madhye Ekjon Shrestha. No. Karmi Madhye Ek Jnani Shrestha. Then it goes on to explain that from this, like Prabhupada is explaining here, out of many hundreds and thousands of karmis, one may become a jnani. Out of many hundreds and thousands of jnanis, one may become realized in the impersonal aspect of the Lord, and out of many koti karmi madhye, koti jnani madhye, ajnani and koti jnani madhye ek. Anyway, that verse is explaining how rare it is to actually be or become a devotee of Krishna. Prabhupada is referring, I don't remember that verse exactly. It begins with koti karmi madhye. And of course, that is also described in the Bhagavad Gita also, 7:19. I believe that is Manushyanam Sahasresu. What is that verse? Manushyanam Sahasresu. 19. Well, there's two of them actually. The one mentioned here is 19 actually. Vahunam janamanamante jnanavam mam prapadite vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Yes. Then, yeah. And the other very well, mm, that is, mm, okay, it's actually in the same chapter, yeah, a little earlier. Manushyanam Sahasrishu, that is 7:3 actually. 7:3. So these two verses are there, Bahunam Janmanamante and Manushyanam Sahasrishu Kaschid Yatati Siddhayi Yatatam Apisiddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tatvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Perfection means to understand that we are eternal spirit souls, but the uh, topmost perfection is not only to know that we are a spirit soul, but to know. Did you find that? No, this Puthi Karmimati. Actually, yeah, no, it's not a verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Possibly. Okay, we'll continue here in the purport. So, all this to underline how a personality like Parikshit Maharaj or anyone like him who takes full shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna is very, very rare. So to continue in the purport here, Maharaj Parikshit uh, is specially qualified or qualified with the word Mahamanaha, Mahamanaha, which puts him on an equal level with the Mahatmas described in the Bhagavad Gita. Mahatmanas tamam partam adaidim prakritim masritaha. The uh, quality or characteristic of a Mahatma is that uh, he has taken full shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, means the internal energy of the Lord, means devotional service. In the latter age also, um, there have been many Mahatmas of this type, and they also give up all karma khandya conceptions of life, solely and wholly depending on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Krishna himself, taught us in his Shikshastaka Aslisya bapadaratam pinastumam adarsanam malmahatam karotiva yatha tatava vidadatu lampato mat prana natasu saiva naparaha. Translation: Lord Krishna, who is the lover of many devotees, may embrace this fully surrendered maid servant, or may trample me with his feet, or he may render me broken-hearted by not being present before me for a long duration of time. But still, he is nothing less than the absolute Lord of my heart. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly in his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord. Similar translation. Prabhupada is giving different quotations of various great authorities, of course, beginning with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he goes on to quote Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami spoke thus. This is actually, it's not mentioned from where it is. Vicha virachaya maidandam dinabandhu dayamba gatiriha na bhavataha kachid anya mamasti nipatatu shatakoti nirbharam va divamba tadapi kila payoda duyate chatakena. The translation as follows: O Lord of the poor, do what you like with me. Give me either mercy or punishment. But in this world, I have none to look to except, I have none to look to except your lordship. The Chataka bird always prays for the cloud, regardless of whether it showers rains or throws a thunderbolt. And another great personality, Srila Madhavendra Puri, the grand spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya, took leave of all karma kandiya obligations in the following words. I'll just read the translation because it's very, very long. O my evening prayer, all good unto you. O my morning bath, I bid you goodbye. O demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. Now I have decided to free myself from all reactions to sins simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the great descendants of Yadu and the great enemy of Kamsa, Lord Krishna. I think that this is sufficient for me. So what is the use of further endeavors? And another prayer. by Srila Madhavendra Puri. Also just giving this translation here. Let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusioned. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. The wealthy Mammonites may point me out as mad, and the learned philosophers may assert that I am much too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda, though I am unable to do it. And one last prayer from Prahlad Maharaj, which is quoted in the Srimad Bhagavatam, canto number 6, canto number 7, text, chapter 6, text 26. The translation: religion, economic development, and sense gratification are celebrated as three means of attaining the path of salvation. Of these, iksha, trayi, especially, that means knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive acts, and logic, and also politics and economics, are different means of livelihood. All these are different subjects of Vedic education, and therefore I consider them temporary engagements. On the other hand, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu is a factual gain in life, and I consider it the ultimate truth. Yes. So to conclude this purport from Srila Prabhupada, the whole matter is concluded in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41 as Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, or the absolute path of perfection. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan, a great Vaishnava scholar, defines this as Bhagavat Archana Rupaika Niskama Karmabhir Vishuddha Chittaha. Accepting transcendental loving service to the Lord as a prime duty, free from fruitive reaction. And the last line of the purport here: so Maharaj Parikshit was perfectly right when he firmly accepted the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, renouncing all karma khandiya conceptions of life. So this a few points here. From the very beginning, there is reference to what is called religion, economic development, and sense gratification. what is known as, in the Vedic culture, the four generally accepted practices: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So here we see the nice prayers being offered by these exalted personalities, beginning with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhagavatam Puri, and Prahlad. Yes, Prahlad Maharaj also. So these are our acharyas, naturally. And the point being made here is that uh, when one takes up these activities of dharma, kama, and dharma, artha, and kama for material purposes, that is, karma kandiya means for material purposes, then it should be rejected. But if one takes up these activities uh, not for material purposes, then that is the recommended, or rather, there are guidelines given. So this last quote, or just before last quote, I guess, by Prahlad Maharaj, I'll just repeat this. This is from the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Religion, economic development, and sense gratification are celebrated as three means of attaining the path of salvation. Of these, ikshatrayi, especially, or knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive acts and logic, and also politics and economics, are different means of livelihood. All these are different subjects of Vedic education, and therefore I consider them temporary engagements. On the other hand, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the factual gain in life, and I consider it the ultimate truth. So this is very much also connected with the conversation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with who? Rai Ramananda Rai, where the conversation in that context, Lord Chaitanya was requesting Ramananda Roy to describe what is the ultimate process or the ultimate goal of life. And of course, he had begun by describing Varnashrama Dharma, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected as the highest goal of life. And the discussion, of course, came to the point of Srila Ramananda Roy described how love of God is actually the ultimate goal of life. So, which is, of course, what is being conveyed here, that when one is convinced about what is the ultimate goal of life, then all other matters become secondary, and one gives up all activities which are for the purpose of sense gratification. However, at the same time, these are part of Vedic culture, what is referred to here actually in terms of education. There are different standard sciences that are described. Hmm. And yeah, one of those sciences is being referred to here actually by Prahlad Maharaj, Trai. What is generally Trai referred to? Trai means the three Vedas. Three, yeah. Uh, and in addition to the three Vedas, then there is also the science of politics, uh, which is described as Dandaniti, and also the science of economics, Varta, and of course the uh, the science of philosophy is also there. So Krishna is repeating or mentioning the same thing, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Parityagya, as we know, to abandon. Uh, actually, when the translation was first given in Indonesia, devotees, you know, uh, not only in Indonesia but in different countries, they translated Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita in the local language, just like here in Bengali is Bhagavad Gita. What is it? The title? Yatha Yatha, huh? As it is. So when that particular verse, was translated actually in Indonesia, the translation was misunderstood because actually people in India, uh, they it is part of the constitution. They accept religion. So if somebody comes and says religion is not good, then naturally that creates a problem. And because of that, they got into difficulties at that time. So, in other words, we that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, spoken by the Supreme Lord Himself, means that we should reject materially motivated religious activities, which fall in the category of, as mentioned here, karma kandiya. But we, at the same time, obviously, we don't reject religion, because religion uh, is described in the Bhagavatam as uh, dharma or param dharma. Sabai pumsam paro dharma. The supreme dharma is to completely surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in other words, sometimes we use the same term, but if it is connected or materially motivated, then it should be rejected. But the same term, dharma, when it is, as described in the Bhagavatam, taken up without a haituki, a pratihata, without any material motivation and without interruption, then that type of dharma. So similarly, in other places, Prabhupada explained, it is not that we reject politics, it is not that we reject economics. We reject politics that is materially motivated. We reject economics that is materially motivated. So there's this balance that needs to be uh, in reading these descriptions here. As we normally do, I'll just read again the text if there's any comment or question on this. Mm. Will be a translation again, to 3 and 4. O great sages, the great soul, Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna, and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. So any thought on this question? Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Krishna.